Okay, everyone, I guess we are live, and that's the image I would like to start this new series I have in mind. So this is exciting. This is the first day it works for me to do screen sharing live, and I really keep up with that. Every day I want to do a 20 minutes or so update, because it's such exciting times we're in. Such exciting times. You remember that was June 4th. That was that powerful big lightning strike into the Washington Monument, which was a clear signal from the cosmos that something big is in the making. And last night we had the second Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. We have a whole series of amazing alignments. Just even today, Mercury will be exactly aligned with the Sun and Earth, and Saturn will re-enter Capricorn in about 24 hours. So here we are at this powerful place in history. The 13 months of taking down the deep state, and we are now in month 3 entering. That was the schedule the 9 gave us. Magenta Pixie has been transmitting these disembodied higher dimensional entities message. They are guiding, helping us, giving us some information, and they were saying, yes, it is this time slot between May 2020 and June 2021, which will be the big event which will be rolled out over 13 months to remove all these players who have been pretty much enslaving humanity for millennia. So this is big, and we are right in the center of it now. And as the United States is at kind of the center stage of this whole thing, I mean, yes, there is Washington, there's London, and there's Rome, where the 3 big monuments are, the 3 big symbols of world domination. And yes, all the symbols are in our face. We know that the symbols will be their downfall, as Q has said several times. So the United States is kind of at the center point of this transition. Well, let me see where I want to start here really. So we had this huge eclipse, this powerful eclipse on June 21st, right at summer solstice here, in conjunction with the nodes. Meanwhile, the Sun has moved ahead for 9 degrees. And as you see in this chart, the Moon has now advanced by about 120 degrees. It was the waxing half moon just a day ago, which is bringing that seed energy into full dynamic expression towards full moon. And full moon is just around the American nation's birthday. Will be another lunar eclipse on July 5. So I mean, it seems that there is something really brewing, something building up. And Q gave us those 10 weeks. You might remember, those who follow Q, that was early May, and if you do the count, it leads to July 11. That would be kind of the end date of week 10. So we are now entering, or pretty much already in week 9. So it's this final stretch. We can pretty much expect something of greater magnitude to unfold, something which will change the landscape, which will open people's minds that more is going on than the eye can see. Now, yes, we live in exceptional times, absolutely. And this chart shows it again. once more we have this axis 0 Leo, 0 Aquarius, which is highlighted. We have seen that so many times. This is kind of the emergence of the new era. Whenever this degree comes into focus, that's another step in that direction, another anchor which is put in place. The final one will be in December 21st, when Jupiter and Saturn will meet at 026 in Aquarius, which will be their first meeting in air signs, Aquarius, Gemini and Libra. Jupiter and Saturn have this amazing rhythm that for 2 centuries they meet in the same triad, in the same element. So what we are seeing here is a step-by-step preparation for this big changeover into a new age. It's kind of cocoon phase we are in globally, and which definitely that whole whatever you call that, social distancing, being tied down to our homes, that was very symbolic, and still is. It is that we retreat to our own space, and actually existence has made this pretty beautiful, this opportunity, giving us all that extra time to go within, to do some research, to look what really happens, to try to tie together the loose ends of our lives and also of the collective. I had this, there's so much here. 2020 vision, another really big one. Many people have talked about that moment when you all of a sudden are able to put everything in focus. Seems to happen this year. I had this thought, this is like the time the deck is shuffled. We are all shuffling the deck all together collectively. So this is a very critical time. There's lots of chaotic energies, and if we are in the right mindset, if we hold the ground, if we create the peace and quiet within ourselves and have the vision of something great to come and hold that in our hearts and connect, then we create this new world together, and we are the ones we have been waiting for. That is the famous Hopi saying. That's definitely true right now, even more so. So okay, we are really at the core here of a big shift again, and what is particular is that this will be the 244th birthday of the American nation. I mentioned that in another broadcast. 244, that's Orcus time it takes for this new small planet out in Pluto's area to once circle around the sun, and Nessus is the one which takes 122 years. Let me just point these two out here. They are in Pisces. Here is Nessus and here is Orcus, and we will talk more of those in the coming days and weeks. Just want to kind of set the framework here a little bit. So there's lots and lots going on here, and naturally I will roll it out piece by piece. So again, we have that. We look here at the Greenwich chart. That's always the first one I'm looking at, which is the global impact of an energetic shift. And if we move on to the chart for Washington, for the American nation's capital, then we have another 0 degree ascendant. Always when 0 degrees are strong in a chart, that is when something new begins, when something when we step over the door, step into a new room, into a new environment, a new setting, and we first have to look around, orient ourselves, and kind of start from scratch. We are pioneers. So whenever the first degree is also in your personal charts, if you have lots of stuff going on in 0 degree area, then you're a groundbreaker. Usually that means it takes a little longer for these people to really be able to start using their gifts and talents, because there's so much more building having to happen inside to be able to present a comprehensive picture. However, once these people are then arrived at that place, then they have truly groundbreaking and opening new dimensions messages, kind of, one could say. So anyway, that is in a general way, we have this 0 degree, so there's definitely something new coming in here. Interesting, I was mentioning Arrokoth here and there. Arrokoth, that small body which has such a huge impact on everything. It made rewrite the whole history of our solar system. All the scientific theories about the creation have been just totally challenged when those geological findings were analyzed of this small body much farther out than Pluto, which New Horizons, that spacecraft which was launched in 2006, traveling for 9 years, particularly sent out on a mission to spy on Pluto, to get a new vision of what Pluto's world was about. And a year prior to Pluto being visited, they were looking if they could find something else in the background. So there was a real search going on for additional bodies. The Hubble Space Telescope was engaged. There were 6 candidates or so, and Arrokoth was chosen as the destined little body. And I mean, nothing happens by coincidence, or everything is coincidence. There's synchronicity, that's the word I like much better. So anyway, Arrokoth has been named that name just last November after an American Native American tribe's word for sky, or a man standing under the open sky. And that is just a powerful image in itself. Just imagine yourself standing out in the night, no lights nowhere, just you and the firmament of stars, and you see it all and you take it all in. So it is that integrative vision which seems to really play a huge role in bringing us together, in helping us to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and this in midheaven, and as the 2 planets, Jupiter and Pluto, were for the 2nd time this year exactly in the same place. Well, slow planets, they have this, actually all planets, because of Earth's motion, have this waving path. For the better part of the year they move forward, and then for a shorter part of the year they move backwards, kind of like waving. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward. That's because of Earth's motion, because Earth will, because of its own moving from here to there, make these planets appear go backwards for some time. So anyway, all slow planets move most often meet multiple times, and most often 3 times. So there's a first conjunction which was in I would have to look it up a few months ago, and now this is the second, and the third will be in a few months again. So the second is always when they move both backwards, which is the integrative phase, which is now starting. The first one is the one which kicks the ball, which puts things in motion. The second one is when we start reflecting, integrating. So Jupiter, Pluto, that's really one of the big signatures of the whole year. Jupiter is expansive. Pluto is power, is also restructuring, and it is Shiva, the Lord of change, of taking the old down and bringing the new in. Pluto, Jupiter is also fast growth, uncontrolled growth in some ways. So some astrologers pointed out that Jupiter, Pluto was found in earlier times when there were pandemics or whatever. I mean, this never really was a pandemic, it was just sold as such. So anyway, that whole feel of it, of something getting out of control, I guess that's what it is, and there's a fear in that. The interesting thing is that it's all happening in Earth in Capricorn, and we will talk more about Capricorn in particular in the coming days and weeks. Don't want to go too deep, but it's an Earth sign. It's the sign of crystallization and also of government and power structures. And there's so much going on in Capricorn. You see, it's really that ties into that theme which I gave you earlier of co-creation. And we are co-creating a new world. That's pretty much what happens. And there's all these many helpers which are guiding us, giving us insights. And it is a process which is happening on many levels, not just our day consciousness, our waking consciousness. We do also work on this while we sleep, while we meditate. It is a 24/7 thing which happens on many levels, and there's many disembodied entities and spirits and helpers which are there guiding us and giving us the right insight at the right time. So Saturn, let's move on to Saturn. Will change signs just within 24 hours back into its own sign, Capricorn. This will be big, and we will talk about that tomorrow, I guess. I don't want to go too long here. We already have almost 20 minutes, maybe a few minutes more. I want to keep these segments short. Okay, so let's just move on here to, let me see, to this one, right, okay. That is the midpoint chart between the American chart and this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction of today, which was just exact a few hours ago. Now, midpoint charts, this is one thing I'm using lots, those of you who already are familiar with my work. It is the time-space midpoint between the birth of the nation here and what is happening now. So it is the hinge we're looking at, the meeting point of these two energies, how they interact, how they work together, how they create a symmetry, a harmony. So what is standing out in general overall in this chart is Uranus. You see at 001 Sagittarius. So this chart moves half as fast as the transiting planets. So keep that in mind. So, but Uranus will go back into Scorpio just within a day or two in the midpoints. So we are at a very important place here again at the 0 point. So it's that going back into the sign before in sync with Saturn and by transits means we are stepping into a whole new situation, and it's kind of you were outside enjoying something new, and you come back in and you have a different vision, you see things differently, and that's exactly what will be going on the next few days. It's interesting that this Uranus and Chiron here are flanking the midheaven in this chart. That's just the midpoints, as I say, exact when Jupiter and Pluto were dead on, zeroing in on each other, resetting the game. What we are also seeing is the moon was at 2944 void. Interesting. Void moons always are unpredictable, highly unpredictable. They run into the void. There's no other aspect before and making the entry in the next sign. And we're approaching a full moon here by midpoints. That full moon, I just was making this chart. I just want to finish with this today, and this is July 3rd, 1898. That is pretty much the 122nd birthday of the American nation, and as we get into July 4, we will be at the 244th anniversary. So this is exciting. So here we have the full moon chart for the midpoints, also the midpoints in time and also in space. That means we take the midpoints between Philadelphia, where the American nation was founded. That's the original chart. And what is happening now, which is centered in Washington, D.C. So all these midpoint charts I'm using for the American nation are exactly between Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. to answer this question if it should come up. So what is interesting here, just shortly, the full moon, and then we have Nessus and Orcus here in conjunction, and just I want to end on that note. Nessus is a very dark energy. It's about abuse and all the really nasty stuff. Orcus is a transformative energy, similar to Pluto, shares the same orbit, alchemy. It's actually the more feminine part of transmuting. So it's about transmuting darkness. That's the kind of the key focus you could put on it, and that's what we are working on. There's lots and lots more going on in this chart. It's very interesting, for example, that a square between the black moon and Jupiter, and many more things. I want to keep it at that. Just see again, Uranus is here now at 0000. That is for the upcoming well, I guess this is, let me just look at one more chart here before we stop. I want to just be sure I say that right. It still is taking a little, yeah, it's taking a little longer for Uranus to change signs. So this will be important. It happens in the next 2-3 days. Anyway, thank you for joining in and listening, and again tomorrow at the same time. Okay, have a lovely day. See you soon. Love you all.